I did.
Oh, there we go. Is this thing on? Is it working?
Hello, hello.
Hi, friends. How's everybody doing? So, welcome to the webinar. We are going to talk about a lot of stuff today, and if you've ever been in a webinar with either one of us, it's going to be a little fun because we're just going to chit chat. No slides, because slides, nobody has time. You're all multitasking. It's the first month of the year. Everybody's doing all kinds of stuff, right? So we feel like you can pay attention and watch us, which is fun, or you can just put us in the background, listen to us, have a good time. So I am Ryan Phelan. I'm the co-founder and chief marketer for RPE Origin, which is a new old player on the scene. So we merged Red Pill Email and Origin Email at the beginning of the month. And so that's the new brand. And with me today, I also have my partner in crime, John Caldwell, who is also the co-founder of the agency, and blessed beyond belief to welcome Kath Pei, noted best-selling author of this book, which we'll give more details on in a minute, and the owner and CEO of Holistic Email Marketing, who's
Thank you for
currently,
having-
huh?
I said thank you for having me.
There we go. We're all just, it's a little love fest. But see, Kath, so I'm in Dallas, John's outside of LA, and Kath is in a tropical island somewhere in the Caribbean, which,
Just floating around somewhere on an
yes.
island.
So if you hear a rooster while
Yep.
she's going,
Okay.
that's real.
Yeah.
So we all decided to get together because here's the thing. I did not see, and I don't know if you guys did, I did not see a lot of predictions email articles this year. Usually the interwebs are crammed full of everybody predicting what the heck is going to go on for the year. I was proven wrong with my predictions for 2020, as was everyone else. And so what we all thought we would do today is just as kind of the leaders some of the leaders in the email space kind of go through a conversation of what do we see in the market, what are we looking for when we consult for a lot of companies, we help a lot of companies with our email, and so what are we looking for things to happen? What are we looking for marketers to level up on? What are we looking for new stuff to come on, or for how to marketers to pivot given what's going on in the world today? So that's what we're going to talk about. We've got 3 areas that we're going to discuss. First, we're going to talk about foundational tweaks. So those basic things that you have to have and what tweaks we're looking for people to make or that should be made. We're also going to talk about technology, what technology is out there that marketers should be paying attention to or not paying attention to. That'll be fun. And then lastly, customer behavioral strategy. So how are you putting your emails together if you're not batch and blast, right? What do you got to consider there? And we're just going to kind of do round robins around and talk to everybody and kind of get their opinion. So I think that sounds like fun. Kath, John?
Sounds like fun to me.
All right, cool.
I'm up.
So let's start with foundational tweaks, right? As we start looking out, every company has changed in some way, shape, or form. From their fulfillment, from their place where they call their office, to how they advertise, to all that kind of stuff. Everything's changed. So foundational, just to give kind of a bed, is there are about 5 programs that you need to have in place if you're an email marketer, right? And just to make sure I don't miss one: acquisition, welcome, promotional, transactional or triggered, and attrition or an opt-out process, right? Those are the meat of every email program, right? So I'm going to start with Kath. What are the things you're looking for in terms of the tweaks that people should make, the things people should be keeping their eye on, and what are you looking for in those foundational pieces?
Yeah. Okay, great. So I'm working with my clients and very much reminding them that they and all of them have done so but to date of my existing ones, but all my new clients, I will be asking the same question: have you updated them? Are you having longer challenges with delivery problems, things like that? So is the messaging updated? Are you setting the expectations? Because that's where a lot of trouble comes, is when their expectations aren't set correctly. So things like that are absolutely essential, because I like to call these foundational programs, many of them fit into what I call life cycle programs, which Brian and I kind of have an interesting disagreement on.
Debate on. We'll get to that momentarily.
And so I see them absolutely, I agree with Ryan, they're absolutely foundational. And the problem is not all brands actually have them in place. And if they have, they've created them, they've set and forgot them like years and years ago, and they've never looked at them. They don't necessarily measure how well they work. They haven't optimized them, refined them, learnt from them. So for me, this is a great opportunity, because these programs very much fall under helpful email marketing, because thank you. Because how it works, though, is that if you think about it, most of the programs are based on something that the subscriber, the customer, has done. So an action that they've performed, or in the case of attrition, or in the case of, sort of not performed, really. So if they haven't bought in the last year or so, okay, so you want to do a win-back campaign with them. So on that basis, then get the helpful email marketing sort of cap on and start to think, how best can we help them? Because if we can help our clients, if we can help our subscribers and customers, achieve their goal, then we by default will be winners. We will be helped as well, right? So it's a really, really good thing to do. And their innate nature is one of helpfulness, is one of personalization, is one of timeliness and everything. So these guys are winners. And I've got a client, and they've only literally started in the last 8 months doing these programs. And within 5 months, they had hit 50% of their revenue, i.e. they're now contributing to the total. So it's amazing. They're seriously amazing. So that's my little 2 cents worth on.
All right. John, what do you think?
Well, along with, I want to jump in and agree. One, first with Kath and about expectations and setting those expectations and living to them. And after that, everything old is new again. Cleaner data, better data management. These are foundational things that are going to help your program overall. You're going to be able to better manage those expectations, because you're clearing out. People change addresses. People their kids grow up. Their families move out. They start new families. Life changes. So while their lives change, the data has to change with it. And a lot of times, once we put the stake in the ground, that's it. And the only thing we ever watch from that point is their lifetime value and their purchase patterns, right? Yeah. So we don't take those other things into consideration, and that it is at its most foundational point. But I've been saying the same thing. You talked about predictions, the same predictions I've been making for over 20 years. And I'm never wrong, because it's always incremental. It's a safe bet.
Yeah. I would agree with both of you guys. And by the way, if you have questions, we're going to make this not only a discussion with all three of us, but with the audience. So if you have questions, make sure to put them in the Q&A bar or Q&A box down at the bottom of the screen, and we'll answer those as we go. I would agree with you guys, and add this. I think, to Kath's point, I have seen a lot of marketers forget their automation or their foundational programs. I have gotten, And this was in the middle of the COVID thing, right? When everybody was locked down and the world was going crazy. I was still getting automated notices from my oil change company saying, hey, it's time for you to come in for an oil change.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not driving anywhere. I don't know where you think my miles are. It was that they didn't adjust those. I saw a lot that didn't, of retailers that switched to curbside pickup or online only in their welcome emails, talk about their store hours and do localization strategies. I saw a lot of transactional emails that didn't get updated with any policy changes or anything, right? And so I think that, and it wasn't surprising to me, but it was. So the not surprising was everybody was probably just crazy, right?
Yeah.
Just out of their mind, nuts. And they didn't think about changing those because the world was on fire and they were trying to do everything else.
Well, but
go ahead.
But they wouldn't have anyway. And the biggest problem with set it and forget it is that email is the victim of its own success, right?
Yes.
And even if you do bad email, you make money, right?
Right.
You have to be really, 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 really bad at email to not make something more than what you spent.
Yep.
And so because of that, I'm making enough. I don't need to. I'll go do something else. Or I'm making enough. Or after a while, you don't realize you can't see the wheat from the chaff anymore because whatever you do makes money.
Right. And that's one thing oh, sorry, Kath, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so whenever we bring on a new client, we do an audit with them. It's a very, 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 very thorough audit. And we always insist on having a look at all of their life cycle marketing, and all these foundational programs. And most of them, I've never seen them. Some of them are actually new and they've never actually even seen them. So they're not doing an internal audit on them. They're not even aware of them. They're just running behind the scenes. Other ones actually don't even have them under their remit. They're actually being set up. Yeah, they've been set up by a different team. And so they're not even in charge. But of course, it looks like it's, and it should be them and be able to have the power over them and everything. So there are lots and lots of challenges. And so I would say to out there to basically just make sure that you are actually, card abandonment, go and abandon once a month. Make sure it's working. Go and sign up using different email addresses all the time.
And that's one thing. Let me jump in real quick. That's one thing that I think as somebody that, like all of us have been on stage and been talking to people and writing and all that stuff for, going on 20 years, right? I'm 22. I think he's 23. I think you're around 22 as well. You're 25. The one thing I wish we would have not said as thought leaders or not said as people on stage is the set it and forget it. Yeah. It was so clever for us to just turn off. But as we get now, we're like, oh God, that was so terrible for us to say. You never forget anything. You just said it and then you collect all the money. How about that?
But what happens too, though, is that when that marketer actually has that job, the boss is looking at them as more than a builder / babysitter to the program, right? So they have a job every day, and they have to fill this time with those daily tasks. And inside of those daily tasks, they have to find time to make those incremental changes that their boss will accept. And if they can set something in that's easy, that they don't have to go through a whole lot of BS approval on, that's great. And then the boss comes and say, oh my God, what did we do different? Well, I tweaked this a little bit. I hope it was okay. Well, yeah, we made, X thousand more dollars. Of course it's okay. What other ideas do you have? Those are ways to get your boss to pay attention to you, right? Yeah. It's not like, hey, I read an article and I think we should do this because this other company over here with lots more money than we have doesn't it? That's so again, those are some of the foundational things, not necessarily from the platforms, but from the people running the platforms and ways to advance.
Yeah, and also I think another challenge is exactly what you were just saying about the time it takes to get approval. So to set up these programs is no mean feat. it does take time. You have to strategize them and then create them and test them and then implement them. And, all of that is very time consuming. Plus, then you have to go and get the approval, and that can take ages. And so I guess in their mind, they're kind of like, well, it's okay because we only have to do this once.
Right.
And
emails making bunches and bunches of money, right? I made it, look at all the money it's making. As long as it's not losing whatever its baseline is, nobody's going to pay any attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeff's got a great point here.
Yeah.
He says that everyone needs an automation index. So basically everything listed. Yeah. And that's what we're saying. So you have that, you're aware of that, and you're testing it. And hopefully you're doing, A/B tests and optimizing it continually as well, because these do, bring in the money. And so it's definitely well worth the time it takes to do an ongoing A/B test on them.
Well, you can schedule quarterly audits as well. Yeah. Right. But when you schedule a quarterly audit, you actually have to schedule it on your calendar, not just in your head and your wish list. You have to stake that out and set some parameters. Tell people what you're doing and what you're looking for and the expected results, and then let them participate in it as well. And
it depends on your. Yeah, it depends on it depends on your scale too, right? So when I was at Sears and Kmart, Andrew Kordick worked for me at the time, and I had him do, and actually he just did, every 6 months he would do an audit of every automation we had, and there were hundreds.
Yeah.
And just every 6 months he would check on those to make sure A, they were running right, 2, they looked the way they should, because Sears had a tendency to change their brand every 2 minutes. And that all the data lined up, right? So I think the takeaway that we're all saying to this is, in your foundational programs, make sure that you've gone back and done that audit, that you think through or have a catalog to Jeff's point, a catalog of all those, and you can go back and you can check the box and say, yeah, I checked it and it works, and here's when I checked it and all that stuff. And make sure that when we do have things come up that affect the business, the manual emails are easy to pivot on because you're creating them net new, right? And you're taking that into account when you're building it.
Right.
But keep that in mind to say, I've got to go back and alter this welcome email or this transactional email or something like that. You've got to keep those more front. And I think that's what we're all saying.
Yeah.
What we're all saying.
A lot of companies don't even know what legacy programs they have because the people who built them are long gone, and stuff just runs in the background. Some of it runs on the system itself and not on a vendor or platform. And until something happens, nobody really knows. So if you can audit, as part of your audits, make sure you do an inventory too. And you keep your inventory, your content, you can check all that stuff. And it saves time going in when you do your quarterly or biannual.
Yep. All right. Did we forget anything on that one? I think we got it.
I think we got it. Definitely think we got it.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Thank you, John. All right, as we move to technology, I want to, before we move on to technology, I want to mention that Cass, marvelous, excellent book, life-changing. I mean, I may need a new religion. It's on sale right now on Amazon. But for those of us on the webinar today, 20 lucky people are going to get a free copy of this book. And they're all sitting in my closet and will be mailed sometime between now and June when I move. But no, we'll send those out right away. But at the end, we'll announce who's going to get these. So hang on tight. Did I mention that this book is amazing? Okay, so next piece, technology. There is new tech everywhere. Seems like every 5 minutes there's another company wanting to do a dog and pony and show me or you or any of us their newest tech and their newest way to go. And we've got a list of things. I'm going to start with my list of technology that I'm looking for, and really mine is more recognition to companies that already exist, that have been around for a long time, that have kind of a status in this industry. And I'm talking about companies like LiveClicker, Fresh Relevance, Campaign Genius, Email and Acid, Smarter HQ. Those are companies that have well-established roots in this industry and have proven to be trustworthy, to be above board, good practices, kind of fall in the ethos of what the email industry is. And I don't see, what I'm looking for is those companies to grow a ton, right? Because I don't know that they've gotten the pickup that they should, right? So if I think about, for example, email and acid, right? I mean, checking your email before it goes out to make sure it looks good, there's no errors, the links look good, all that kind of, the check before it goes out the door to prevent errors. I mean, come on, who doesn't need that one? LiveClicker and Campaign Genius, incredible companies that have some tech to make email not so flat. So not only the countdown timer, which I absolutely despise because it's been as overused as the Bernie memes, but is everything else, from dynamic product inserts into your email, real-time images, the ability to change out things based upon stock. I mean, both companies are doing some pretty impressive stuff. And then you have, Fresh Relevance and Smarter HQ that are helping you bridge the data gap and really look at new ways to examine and use your data, either through automation or through content or all kinds of stuff. And those are, companies for marketers. They don't have time to look at new tech. Well, they actually should, right? And I know sometimes it's funding, but you have to take this year. If you look at all years, this is the year that marketers need to get away from what they did the last 5. They need to radically change what they do because the customer behavior set has changed so radically. And the only way to do that is with is agencies like ours to help them out, and then third-party companies to help accelerate that through the tech they have.
So really, if you were to summarize it all up, those companies that you've mentioned, and there's others as well, but these guys, right? Because they and by the way, we've not been paid to mention them. Okay.
No, we haven't been paid at all.
We think they're awesome. They make the marketer's life easier, and that's the one thing that in 2021 you're gonna need. You're gonna need your life to be made easier, because none of us are thinking that 2021 is going to be, that much different from 2020, that much easier or anything like that. There's still going to be things thrown up. There's still going to be different, unexpected events happening. And so if anything, you want your life to be made easier. So if it's made easier because you are using some, lovely personalization, or you are using that automated pre-check tool from Email and Acid, or you're using real-time data to actually give you, that added information and personalization, then, go to and do it, because it's great for the customer, which is what I love. Great for the customer and great for you. It enhances everyone's experience.
Yep.
Oh, these additional companies that enhance email, these email enhancement companies, the strides they've made even in the last 5 years is amazing. And their ability to do things like when you talk about some of the live content companies that support that in email, they can count, right? They can count the different cells in the live content that they deliver. 25 years ago, you know how we counted an open? If somebody pinged a pixel, we buried it and we were able to capture it on web trends, right? The stuff wasn't in an interface. Okay, so all of the things that you see today and all these tools that are so easily taken for granted, even their evolution in the last 5 years. When the industry began, we didn't have any of this stuff. There wasn't even Dreamweaver didn't exist.
Yeah. And, well, I even remember, and I tell this story all the time, is that the reason why these third-party companies took off, that we have the presence of this from an evolution standpoint, is that after the acquisitions of the big 5, right? The big 5 players in the space. So exact target, responses, yeah, all those, right? Innovation stopped because it used to start from those big companies and trickle down into the lower tier ESPs and some other stuff. And when those two companies stopped competing against each other for market share, it stopped. There was really only 1 or 2 companies that I can remember, and maybe you guys remember more of them. The first third-party company that came on the scene was CY with the abandoned cart. Remember that? I mean, and I tell this story all the time, and people are probably bored of hearing it. But when CY came on, they were the first independent company that came along with something that was like, holy crap, I have to have that, because they came along and said, hey, you don't have to wait for the 24-hour FTP file from WebTrends.
Yeah.
You can do it within an hour. And everybody, I can remember being at conferences and people were like, this is just the coolest, you know.
Oh yeah.
And ESPs, since the big acquisitions, don't have the time to innovate in the directions of all these other third-party companies. So really what you look at is a stack that has your ESP, but then you have to layer on those stack items in order to get anywhere, because your ESP isn't going to innovate at the rate that these third-party companies are.
Right. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. And that's true. And that's about when the industry did change. But, you know, with that change, look what's evolved out of it. I mean, entire industries have evolved because the 2 and 3 biggest players, kids on the block that used to battle it out, stopped, you know. And or change their method. So it's really pretty amazing. It's really pretty amazing how email has had such an impact on you know, so many different industries.
Yeah, Kath, you had a list that was really good.
Yeah.
Although 2 of them I want to call fun on, but go for it.
Okay. So one of them that I'm keeping my eye on is and we'll be sort of seeing if, you know, sort of suggesting it to some of my clients if it is suitable for them, is live shopping with so there's a product out there called Bambuza, right? Again, not being clear at that, but I've just found out about it, and you can be doing lots of wonderful things. So they've got an example is you know, you can be trying on using your webcam, you know, sunglasses and things like that. So it's, and you can be using people, so they could be famous or they could just be your salesperson who's actually sort of chatting and doing everything, and it's all live, so it's a live event, but then all of the products are actually being displayed as well, and then people can go and click, and then they can go and find out more about them and buy them and all the rest of it. And that actually reminds me of back in the day when I used to teach about this particular product. It was a video, and it was a fantastic one, but it took a lot of effort. So it was a video, and basically it had, you know, you could mouse over the video whenever, you know, so someone's coming down the catwalk, and you like that outfit, you like the shoes, you like the handbag, whatever, you can click on it, and then it will take you to the shop, and then you can go and buy it. So it's along the lines of that, but instead of it being a video, recorded video, it's actually live. So as far as, you know, from the need perspective, you know, with a good majority of us not being able to go and, you know, go shopping in person in a shop, this whole idea is therefore meant to be replacing that and to still give you, you know, for things like MAC, I think MAC makeup, you know, lipstick, you can go and try it on. You can try your sunglasses, all those kind of things that are really difficult to buy online without actually trying them on. That's really, really helpful. Plus also then just the whole experience. And you can have, they do one-to-one shopping as well. So it's like a personal, you know, shop assistant with you. So I think that is probably part of the future. And I think that's going to get a good pickup, and it's, you know, other products like it. I wanted to bring up, we probably all want to bring up, the typical ones that we've, you know, I heard a lot about them all last year. So Bimmy, AMP, and dark mode, right? Everyone.
It's my live reaction to those as you list them.
Ryan has his opinion on all of them, as do I actually. I don't think I'm as cut and dry as Ryan, which is
No.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Shocking,
Wait.
really. So, Bimmy and AMP, right? Wasting
separate,
time.
separate.
Oh no, I can put them together because they're both as worthless to me. So here's the thing: we've got so much crap to do, and the amount of time that it takes for a marketer to get anything done is so compressed, right? Bimmy and AMP, they sound great, and I have seen some. Outlook has probably one of the best applications of AMP that I've seen with the Cortana, whatever I pronounce her name.
Oh, yeah.
Reminder emails in Outlook every day if you have a Office 365. But both of those take resources and time, right? And if I was going to advise a marketer, if they came into me and said, should I develop a new series of triggers or should I do Bimmy and AMP? I'd say do the trigger because you get payoff of it. And AMP, I mean, okay, I see the need, but it's, come on. I mean, I really don't care. I just don't think it's worth focusing on unless and until there is an easy way to implement it.
Yeah, okay. So my perspective is I can see there's some value in Bimmy. I can see from the branding perspective, you know, having the logo there and everything. So because I'm very big on that, planting the seed about, you know, having that, using email as being a more than a direct marketing channel, as being a branding channel as well. So I can see that there is benefit there. And then also from the deliverability side, I can see benefit there as well. So with AMP, I have said this from the very, very beginning, because again, I used to teach 10 plus years ago about the Hotmail active use, right?
Yeah.
The whole shop within the whole email, it's amazing and everything. And then I actually started questioning, you know, is email the channel that you actually want to be shopping in? Because it's so busy. You could be halfway through shopping and then your boss sends you an email, or your mom, or something like that, because email is, our inbox is still part of that push channel. Whereas if they took you over to a landing page, you're now on a pull channel, you've got quietness, there's peace, you're not interrupted, right? So you know, I would imagine if we were to do that, there's a good chance that there could be a lot more abandoned carts. But again, this is all unknown. So as far as AMP goes, I think that if your objective is to actually provide a enhanced customer experience to your customers, and it actually meets a need and meets and addresses a challenge that you have, an existing challenge that you have, then there's probably worthwhile. And it basically, it has to help the customer. Don't do it just because it's the latest fad and
correct.
So again, this is what I talk about a lot: shiny new tools and toys and things like that. It's so easy, you know, because we're all geeks, right? So yeah, we're drawn to them. So, but you know, there's a time and a place, and you've got to put your customer first. Is it going to help the customer?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and your job is also to make money for the company that pays you money. So, you know, is this task going to increase my revenue into this channel? And if it's not, well, it might be cool and fun to play with and geeky and everything else. Really, what's it all worth? You know, technology, some changes that I really think are pretty amazing and are going to have a big impact. Email and NASA is doing a lot with accessibility. I know others are as well. John Thies has been banging the drum on accessibility for a good 5 years, maybe better. So while others may be involved as well, he's definitely been a leader in bringing it to be. But it opens up, especially with mobile and handheld devices, opens up whole new audiences that may not be able to participate in the same way that others do.
Yeah.
And as parts of the population age out, eyesight changes. You know, they can't read as well, but now you know, we have a device that can do that for us and help us along with those. You have other people with special needs, and it really opens some things up. You were talking about some of the virtual reality where you can try on sunglasses and those sort of things. Movable Ink has been playing with some of the VR stuff for a while too. and we've had some clients with some really good luck with them. Only mentioning because of firsthand experience. Other things that I think are pretty amazing that they and other companies are doing are the location based, where they can do content based on not just where you live, but the conditions on where you live, whether they're environmental conditions or other things that may be impacting your local surroundings, and then taking that even finer in perimeter type communications, where you can with working with other data companies, you can pick up that I walked by Spencer Gifts at the
Signal
mall.
company, yeah, signal discovery.
Right. So I think those are some pretty amazing technological advances. But I've been at it for a long time, so being able to kind of click in a UI not that long ago was like, wow, look at that.
Yeah. Well, I think what we're all saying too is there's a lot of great tech that we've mentioned. I think that what is the responsibility to the marketer is to look at, two things. Does it solve a problem? And will the customer react the way you want them to, right? Do your research. Ask if you have customer focus groups, ask those people, focus it, learn how well it'll be accepted. When you talk about AMP, you talk about changing the nature of email from a hey, it's sitting in the inbox to hey, I can buy something.
Yeah.
That's changing the nature of the medium. And as much as you want something to work doesn't mean it will work. So I think what we're all saying is there's a lot of great tech out there. Let's make sure we're not only looking at the tech and how it solves our challenges, but will the customers react in a beneficial way? All right, the last section, and we do have one question from Aaron, which I want to make sure we tag before we move on to this. Which ESP do you recommend for e-commerce? I'm going to give you John Caldwell's favorite saying, it depends on a whole lot of things. I know.
Yeah.
Aaron, I would say it's a great question. I would say that all three of us could probably help you if you want to reach out to talk to any of us. We do vendor selection. Kath, I think you do vendor selection too.
Yeah.
And
it's really a case of your specific needs and everything.
Right.
And
yep.
I know that RPE Origin are very much looking at what you guys need, and because the last thing you want to do is be spending too much money. And there's a lot of great systems out there, but they're not always for everyone. So,
right.
And we're all agnostic as well, so we can't just throw out. Sorry.
Yeah. And Aaron, just to give you some background, I mean, the choices are anywhere from Constant Contact and MailChimp to SendGrid to Oracle, right? And there's 30 companies in between that gambit, right? And so really it's not this company is great for e-commerce and doing email.
Well,
we've all been vendor agnostic. I can tell you, and I'm betting this is the same for Kath, all of our clients are on different platforms. And because they all have different needs and they all have different processes, systems, reporting, all those different things. And so the complexity is there, and we want to, we always strive, and Kath does too, to make sure that the fit is not only for what you have today, but where your growth is looking at in the next 2 years. And so it's not a tweetable answer, but it's a great question. I think, Aaron, thanks for asking it.
I will give you the most succinct answer I've ever given on that, beyond it depends. And really what you want to do is find a platform who can do more than you want to do, and find a vendor that you agree with and are of a like mind that you get along with. Right. If it's somebody you'd hang out with on the weekend at a barbecue, and in their platform will do the job, and it's in your budget, I'd start looking with him. Yeah,
I'd agree. All right, the last section, customer behavior strategy. And this is all around, if you look at the world today, we have a very fluid customer behavior model, which means everybody's behaving differently yesterday and today and tomorrow, right? And it's not because they choose to, it's because just what's going on, right? So how do you change your own strategy, right? And Kath, I'm going to start with you, or John, if you want to go first. But Kath, I was going to start with you. Is what are you looking for? What this year are you going to be wanting to see?
Okay, I've got two really key things that I want to be seeing changes in, and I think from having done so many hundreds of audits and working with lots of students and clients and brands and everything, I think that the reporting isn't always up to scratch. I don't think that they're looking holistically at the whole customer journey, that they tend to look more just towards the campaign metrics, that they're not looking at, and for me, certainly in this time, this is the time that you need to be moving beyond just those email metrics. You need to be looking at, the RPE. You need to look at the average order value, beyond the number of transactions and everything, the conversion rate. Look at the customer lifetime value, all of those things, because that's going to be incredibly fluid. I just went through, 2 hours beforehand with a customer, and we found some incredible, I added a few more metrics that they hadn't been measuring. And we found some incredible insights from just going and examining those data, those metrics from the last quarter of last year. So, and that's going to give us fuel for doing our testing, which then brings me on to my new point, is A/B testing. What you knew isn't necessarily valid or the same as what actually is here in the now.
Right.
So doesn't mean that you have to throw it out the door, but those insights that you go, this is what our customer base looks like. This is the motivation that really tickles their fancy. This is this. It may be different. You've got new customers. You've got different buying habits. You've got different buying frequencies. You've got there's so many new variables happening that again, I'm not saying throw it all out, but basically start again. Create your hypotheses, look at your data, create your hypotheses, and then start doing some significant, scientific A/B split tests and find out. And of course, do those, the foundational programs in your life cycle 1 to 12. But I think for me that because that's going to, and I'm not saying just testing for the sake of testing. I'm not saying just test to get an increase. Of course, that's what you want to do, right? An uplift. But I'm saying test to get further insights from your clients. And then that's going to give you more fuel and to do further testing. It'll give you more ideas for your messaging, for the approach that you want, for the strategy and everything, because you're finding out what's happening and what they're doing in these new times. And it's going to be invaluable. So test with the purpose of not just getting an uplift, but with learning. And the only way you can do that is by using a hypothesis, make sure it's statistically confident, record the results, test multiple times using the same hypothesis to make sure that you're, okay, great. We have got a definite winner. And because we've got a winner, we have a new learning. So, yeah.
So I have 3, right? So, and I've written a lot about this on Marketing Land and a couple different other sites about the complexity of the consumer behavior right now. And so the 3 things I'm looking for is one, are marketers getting more sophisticated in their segmentation, and to the extent that you're thinking about the different behaviors that are going on in the country. You're going to have, listen, for the next 9 months, at least in the States and longer throughout the world, you're going to have people getting a vaccine, people not getting a vaccine, people being in lockdown, people not being in lockdown, people in financial hardship. You're going to have all these different things. Plus you have the predicate behavior of everybody changed their behavior for the last 9 to 12 months. And so it's not what's going on now is not as easily predictable. I was talking to Char Van Boskirk and one of the, from Forrester, and one of the things she said is a lot of companies have multiple models or multiple segmentation models based on different scenarios of what's going on. I know over at Campaign Genius, they built a COVID tool to look at infection rates and look at some other factors so that you could segment your email and change the content at the point of open based upon local conditions. So that kind of sophistication is key, and getting beyond this batch and blast mentality. If there's ever a time, and I said this at the beginning, if there's ever a time to tell that idea to go to over the hill, it's now, right? I think the second thing is progressive profiling is something we've been talking about for a long time, but people don't generally have time to do it. Send an email to your customers and ask them what the heck's going on. How are things going? Take their temperature. Ask them demographic questions, or ask them questions about what's just going on, right? Pick your right segment groups. And you know, the problem everybody always had with progressive profiling is the data that you get back is transitory. It has an expiration date. Well, that's okay right now because everything has an expiration date, even behavior. So I don't think that's a thing. And then the last thing, Kath, and I know you and I have talked about this, is watch the news. Be an educated person. Find out what's going in your major centers of customer activity. What's going on there? Read the pulse. Do some research. I've been, you know, preaching that for the last year. Is that good marketers are really, you know, not watching the news all day because that will drive you crazy. But you know, take some time to look at, if your biggest customer base is in Cleveland, Ohio, you should on a pretty regular basis be looking at what's going on in Cleveland, Ohio, right? That kind of stuff. Be educated about what's going on. I think it will help with your empathy, but it'll also help with your decisions on what you target and what you sell, right? It's the same thing we tell people. If there's a hurricane in Miami, you better be putting Miami on a segmentation list to either exclude it or include it. And if you include it, you better be sending stuff that will actually benefit them. The same thing we would do Miami is now the thing we should do for the entire country.
Yeah.
John, what do you, oh, go ahead, Kath.
I know, I was just going to say, and for example, so I'm from the UK, right? You know, it's in lockdown, yes, and everything. So if you're marketing to the UK, you have to understand it's very, very different, even to where you are in the US.
Yes.
So, you know, and then different places in Europe and so on. So yeah, definitely know your audience. That's what it comes down to. Know your audience.
Yep. John, you're on mute. There's always one. You always have it during one meeting.
There's always one.
I was in one. I was on a webinar a week ago.
You know, it's.
I think I'd learned.
Somebody decided that they should print. So anyway,
yes.
First, it always makes me a little cautious when you mention my name and behavior in the same sentence.
Yes.
But you know, it's like when we go sailing, right? You have to be able to look ahead and know whether you need to stay the course or change the course when the conditions around you change, right? So you can be out on a nice, easy day, and the next thing you know, some big powerboat comes running by. Well, do I change my course? Do I stay in my course? What's best going to get me through this situation and come out the other side? And we've talked about a lot of, you know, we've got the data. You know, our metrics, we've got the news, what's going on around us. All of these things combined together really blended are the art and science of email, right? You have the science, you have the numbers, you have the statistics, you have the art, you have the reading of the barometer of the marketplace and the conditions around it. So, you know, you have to be able to stay fluid enough to react, but also stay confident enough to weather through and not just always be reacting. You know, you have to be able to act ahead of time so that you're not stuck in reaction and trying to clean it up at the end. So
yeah. You know, one funny thing I'll tell you, John tells a lot of analogies in his stories. That's probably the best one I've heard in like a year. That was pretty solid.
Blind squirrel.
Blind squirrel finds a nut. No, I would agree. You know, you've got to be able. That's why I like agile marketing.
Yeah.
The ability to pivot and learning. If you're a marketer and not doing agile from a marketing perspective, you need to start reading up on it yesterday.
Right.
It is a game changer in terms of how to think about marketing and speed to market and the ability to pivot. And I think what we saw in the early days of COVID is those companies that were agile and that could pivot came out on top.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes back to the sailing analogy, right? Conditions change, you change your sails, right?
Yep.
You're not going to change the wind, you're not going to change the water, but you can change what you do with the wind on the water. And we need to speed up, we need to slow down, we need to do this, we need to do that. We make these adjustments, but we're still sailing. Right?
Exactly.
And
so Kath, unless you have something, we're gonna start closing up because we got stuff to do.
Yeah, but I don't know how you're going to. I don't know how.
I do. I have it all taken care of. I have some magic. I have some magic. But first, what we didn't do at the beginning, and I think it actually works good sometimes at the end, is what our companies do. Right now that the people that are on this webinar have heard all of our shticks. Now it may be helpful to know what we each do and what our companies, our agencies do, so that you can pick up the phone and if you want help, call one of us, right? Because we like to make money, right? So Kath, what is Holistic? Tell us a little bit about it.
So we're a boutique email marketing consultancy, and which we deliver our consultancy holistically. So we do look at other channels because we very much focus on the customer journey. Everything that we do is based on the customer. So, you know, we help our clients from everything. So we have 3 steps. We have discover, devise, and develop. And there are 3 ones. So discover is basically audit and everything. Devise is strategy, and develop is that we will help you to develop if you need us to. But we are not an agency. So therefore, that's how we very much differ from RPE Origin, because they are also that they're an agency more so. So we do not do your BAU emails or anything. Very much the strategic side of things.
Yep. And RPE Origin is an agency. So if you think about everything from the strategy to pushing the button and everything in between, that's what our group does and has for the last 15 years. So design,
16.
implement, integration, 16, sorry.
16.
Design, integration, back-end management, reporting, campaign setup, data, all that stuff. So so that's what we do. So here's how we're going to do. Now that we know what we do, now we're going to give away Kath's book. And here's what we're going to do. So my assistant has gone through and gotten the first names of everybody that's going to get a book. And so I'm going to read just the first names because I'm not going to embarrass people. And so if your name was called, I'll send you an email, get your home address, and then we'll ship you off one of these lovely email Bibles is what I'm going to start calling it, an email Bible. All right, so you are a winner if your name is Allie, Dave, Ethan, Fumami, and I'm sorry if I screwed that one up, Jeff, Michael, Ryan, Steve, Olivia, Ava, William, Oliver. Let's see, that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. See, 12, 8. Okay, so I just got to go look at my notes here. Ethan, Evelyn, Harper, Mason, Lucas, Mia, Amelia, Benjamin. I think that should be 20. If it's not, I'll randomly pick people, but I think that's 20 names. So those people are going to get a copy of the book. I will email you in a little bit and get your email address. One last question. Somebody's always asking how many people showed up for the webinar today. There were 1 million people on the webinar. That's why it took me a little time to get through this. So Jeff, if you want it autographed, then you're going to have to go to Antigua and be like a stalker and get her to sign it, or you just carry it in your bag until the next conference.
No, you autograph it.
I'll autograph it. Yes, I'll autograph it as Kath with a crayon. All right, I want to thank You guys have been fun. This has been a good time. Yes, this is a great way to spend an hour. It's a question. You should answer.
Oh, there's a question.
You're sitting there like, I got to think about the answer. I don't know if this has been fun. This has kind of been a little mess.
I've had fun. I hope the attendees have had fun. I do know some of them there. Hey, Funmi, how are you? I know it's late where you are. Yeah, so I mean, I've had an absolute ball, but I always do with you guys. And oh, there she goes. Say hey. So yeah, I hope everyone's had a great time. What about you, John? Did you have a good time?
I always have a good time.
Always.
Always. I just,
There we go.
I don't know, senility maybe a little bit, or no. Email it's we always laugh and talk about how email chooses you. You don't choose email. I was speaking with a young gal in the industry, fairly new in the industry, yesterday, and she was telling about how she got bitten by the email bug, and it's great for me to see. I've probably been in it since she was way younger, being in as long as I have, and to see the evolution, to see the change, and to see young people getting into the industry with so much passion about it, and wanting to learn and actually wanting to absorb and be part of it. For an old guy like me who's been around a long time, I think it's pretty cool. It shows the industry is here to stay and gonna live a long time. So.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, hey, if you're, thanks for coming, everybody. Have a fun time, and reach out to either of us for any help that you need on your email programs. And good luck out there. Good luck in 2021, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Now, how do we end this thing? We just turn it